Hello and welcome to my channel where I talk all things book and book related. And this is my first ever video, so hopefully I'm not too awkward or uncomfortable, though I probably will be. So today's topic is my 5 favorite books of all time. So first off, we're gonna start with a book that most people don't even really know exists, which is Glinda of Oz. Now, everyone kind of knows about The Wizard of Oz, which is a fantastic book. But this series is a series that captured my imagination before I was even able to read. It sparked my interest in fantasy. The entire series is very imaginative and interesting. L. Frank Baum is just so whimsical and so creative. Each book is a new adventure. All the characters are lovable. Now, this is the 14th and final book in the Oz series and the last book L. Frank Baum ever wrote before he died. Why this book stands out to me above all the others, which I love as well, is just the journey with Dorothy and Ozma. So for those who don't know, Ozma is the princess of Oz and the ruler who takes over in between the second and the third book. For most of the series, Ozma is just kind of in the background. But here, she and Dorothy go on an adventure. They find the Flatheads. They go to the people under the lake. This has all my favorite characters in it. So obviously all the classics from the beginning, the Cowardly Lion and the Tin Woodman and the Scarecrow and everyone you expect to see. It has Scraps, who's the patchwork girl. It has Glinda. There's just so much to love about this book, and it's so whimsical and fun, and I just can't recommend the Wizard of Oz series highly enough to anyone who likes fantasy, adult or child. Next up on my list is Pride and Prejudice. This was the dreaded 9th grade reading. I think the first half of it, I remember just hating having to read because I was forced into it. And then Darcy proposed and Elizabeth gave her a set down, and I read the rest of the book that very night, even though I wasn't required to have it completed for about another 2 weeks. After that, it's just hard to say where my obsession with Pride and Prejudice and Jane Austen began. I've watched so many of the adaptations and the movie, but at the end of the day, nothing can compare to just how much I love this book. You know, it's just so witty. Elizabeth is an amazing protagonist. She is witty, she knows herself, she's brave for the time period that she lives in. That you either love the characters or love to hate the characters. There's no indifference, and it's just clever. So next up is The Edge Chronicles. And again, this is just the first book, but all of them, well, the first 9, are all fantastic. Into the Deep Woods is the story of Twig. So he's a young boy who has been raised among wood trolls since he was found in his blanket at birth. The wood trolls always follow the path, and they live in the deep woods, which is inhabited by these terrifying creatures called Gloamglozers, which will lure you to the edge, literally, of the world, where you will step off and fall and no one really knows what's beyond. The wood trolls stick to the path, but Twig doesn't. He's human and he gets off the path. He goes through some terrifying adventures. He becomes a pet, and then they're trying to eat him, and then he escapes. He makes it to Edgetown. He runs into some pirates, and eventually he ends up getting lured by the Gloamglozers to the edge. And there are 9 more books, so I think it's safe to say he does not fall off into oblivion. But again, this book is just so whimsical and just so fun and terrifying, and you can just feel that like childlike whimsy and also fear of the unknown, but also curiosity. It's just a perfect blend, and I can't recommend this series highly enough. Next up is The Hollow Kingdom. I have read this book more times than pretty much any other book. I love the writing style. The story isn't going to be for everyone. Kate, who is our protagonist, is marked by the Goblin King to be his bride. Now, he is grotesque. He has parts of different animals on his body, and he's one of the prettier ones of the goblins. Once someone marries the Goblin King, they are stuck underground for the rest of their life. So for the first half, we get to see her trying and succeeding at staying away from this guy. And we just want to root for her. She knows what she wants. Her family isn't believing her or wanting to protect her. And then her family takes her sister and pretends it was the goblin. And Kate, not knowing this, bravely goes and sacrifices herself. This book isn't perfect. The pacing is a bit off. She spends the first half trying to escape the Goblin King and then being unhappy in her marriage, all of a sudden to fall in love with him and save him and his kingdom in the end. But if for people who love a Beauty and the Beast story, it's interesting. It's definitely different, and it's maybe worth checking out. And last up is another classic. This is Oscar Wilde. And no, not A Picture of Dorian Gray, which I love as well, but for today I'm talking about his plays. So the importance of being earnest. What else is there? So there's An Ideal Husband, A Woman of No Importance, and Lady Windermere's Fan, which are all fantastic. There's no author whose phrases I just love to quote more. He just has such an excellent turn of phrase in the way the characters speak to each other. Even though this is a play, the characters really do come to life. And then there's Salome, which is just so different and weird and odd. Definitely not what people think of when they think Oscar Wilde. So that's it. That's everything I have for today. Maybe this video will be good, maybe not. It might not ever see the light of day, but yeah, this is my first shot at a video. Let me know what you think.